Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name's Chassity. If you're new here, we read a lot of books. We do a lot of things. It's kind of the whole shtick. As you can tell from the title, it is finally time to tackle the very last book in the Sarah J. Maas universe that has been released so far. That's right, I have read Throne of Glass. I have read ACOTAR. It is finally time for the third installment of Crescent City with House of Flame and Shadow. It has been, I want to say, over a year since I read the first two. I still remember a lot of the major plot points, so I think I'm okay. And I did previously start this book and I couldn't really get into it. I had kind of burnt myself out. I read a whole bunch of fantasy all at once, but it is finally time. I am in a fantasy mood. We're gonna get into it. I'm going to try my very best to finish this by the end of the week. It is currently Monday. I am sick, so I kind of have a little extra time today to sit and be a vegetable and rot while I read, which we love to see that. But just so I know, there are 835 pages in this honk of a book. So let's see how far I can get. But in classic Crescent City fashion, I think it best to pick out some tabbies and some stickies, and we'll do just like we did for the first two books, and we'll go ahead and annotate my special edition. I love these covers so much. But just a fair warning before we get started. One, this is not spoiler free. I will be talking about major plot points from the first two books, as well as this one as I go, so that way I can kind of share my full experience. So, two, there will probably be a lot more of me talking in this video just because there's so much, and I fear there's going to be a lot of information. Just a recap or overview. The first two books, which are right here behind me, House of Earth and Blood and House of Sky and Breath. In the first book, we follow Bryce as she is looking for kind of the reason that her best friend died. She gets wrapped up in a whole bunch of magical mischief in this urban fantasy and ends up kind of stuck with a angelic cop who is also a slave. There's a lot of depth and there's a lot of layers, but obviously her and Hunt fall in love. They find out why Danica, her best friend, was murdered, because it wasn't just by chance. And my favorite thing in the whole book is at the very end when she kills a god and then vacuums him up in like the Swiffer. Chef's kiss, beautiful writing, very funny moment. The second book, we are still following Bryce, and Hunt has been freed from slavery. They're living together, and they find out that they kind of need to find a human. There's a whole rebellion that we kind of get swept up into. I do remember the first book took me a longer time to invest in, just because it felt like a whole new story, not in the sense of, like, obviously it's the second book, it's going to be a new story, but as in like almost standalone. You could have ended the first book and been done. We end book two. Hunt is imprisoned along with her brother, and she is swept into a new world, a different dimension. This is kind of where Throne of Glass and ACOTAR kind of mesh. We're talking about world walking, which is covered at length in Throne of Glass. And we find ourselves in a very familiar to us, very foreign land for Bryce in the world of ACOTAR. That is where we're starting. That is all that I know. And if you can hear scratching, it is my dog. He has stuck his ball underneath my record player. Zeus. So let's go pick out our stickies that will vibe with this book and get started reading. Guys, I've hit chapter 6 and I feel like it's time for an update. Chapter 6 doesn't seem like a lot, but it's actually page like 82, 83, so almost an eighth of the way through the book. It's a large book, okay? But when I started reading, I realized I had forgotten a lot of the things that happened at the end of the second book. Now, as it stands, Bryce and Hunt are separated. Bryce is in Perinthian? I can never pronounce that correct. She's with the Night Court. Hunt is in a dungeon. We're also getting points of view from people that we haven't seen before, like Therian. I kind of want a point of view from one of the Night Court, like Az. I would love a point of view from Az as a stranger just like rolled up in his like home. What's happening in the book so far at less than 100 pages is Bryce is being questioned by the Night Court and she's escaping, and she's found that there are beasts that answer to her emotions. So if she's calm, they won't attack her. Wild. And so she's finding her way out of that. 2, Hunt, Rune, and Baraxia, I think is what his name was, are all being tortured by the Hind and the Hound, which are 2 archangels that were in the same like squad as Hunt and the other guy that's also being tortured. And they're trying to find out where Bryce went because nobody understands how she jumped through the portal or where she went, because can't be hell. They would have already known. Therian and Ethan is like a lot of information that I don't know how to explain concisely. Therian is enslaved to the Viper Queen. Ethan wants to break him out. And he is battling with the fact that now he kind of has 2 alphas because he defected from his pack, but saved another Fendry who's also an alpha. There's a lot going on. It's very info dumpy, but I'm eating it up. It's been about 2.5 hours that I've been reading, but there's a lot going down. I can't wait to see what Bryce does next because I really want her to understand that they are trustworthy people, but she's just come from a place where there are a bunch of people who have made themselves out to be gods, and she doesn't know these people from Adam, and she doesn't have a great relationship with the Fae anyway. And so what if these Fae are just like the rest? And she doesn't understand that the Night Court squad is good people. It's just a lot of info, dog. You need to read the books to understand. But I have some theories with the information that I have right now. She keeps referencing that Rhysand looks just like Rune. They could be twins. And I'm like, he's your like long lost brother, cousin person. I also think that Az's dagger is the twin blade to the Star Sword. Okay, I'm done rambling, I think. Probably not. I'll probably ramble some more, but that's where I am. So let's see if I can break 200 before I go to bed. Guys. Okay, I'm on chapter 17, page 177. Yes, I know that I said I was going to try to get to page 200 last night. That didn't happen. There's a lot going on. I ended up eating dinner and then sitting on the couch, like being a vegetable. But here's the thing. I came home and I was like, I have to read. I need to know more things. And let me tell you, I learned more things, okay? How do I even explain this? There's so much going on. Here's what's happened since then. So Bryce jumps down a grate into a tunnel and starts walking, trying to be like, I gotta get out of here. Nesta finds her when she passes out in the tunnel because she's exhausted. And when Bryce runs from Nesta, there's a collapse. And they're like, well, I guess we gotta see where this tunnel goes. And so Nesta's following Bryce. Some things go down and Azrael appears. Nesta's like, well, you might as well. Because what happened was Bryce jumped into a freezing lake and was swimming towards the next spot that her star was shining towards. And Nesta was like, I wish you had given me some warning. We didn't have to get wet. We could have flown. And she's like, what do you mean? And then Azrael steps out of the shadows. We love Az. So now the three of them are walking down this tunnel covered in carvings of the history of the Fae. Chef's kiss. You notice a couple of things here and there. They bring up the cauldron. They bring up the Illyrian mountain with the 3 stars, you know, the Akatar symbol. And then Bryce cuts her hands on some rocks when she falls. And Az is like, why aren't your hands healing? And they walk for like a day. Well, turns out Bryce was leaving a trail of blood for the worm, the Wingardium worm, to follow because he tracks by the scent of blood to ambush Nesta and Az so she can escape, because she doesn't want them to know what's at the end of this tunnel, because if it's something that can save or harm her world, she still doesn't trust them. She still doesn't know them, even though they've been having these bonding moments throughout these chapters. Well, when all goes quiet, Bryce feels very bad and turns around to go save the people that she literally just had ambushed by the worm. And then Nesta breaks out the death mask and kills the worm. You need to go away. They're like, well, and then they get to this space where they can't jump and Az can't fly. And so she has Azrael power up her star with his magic, which is pure undiluted. And I was like, girl, you gonna die. But she winnows them across and they get to this giant metal wall that has the 8-point star that's on her chest on the wall. When they get to the metal wall, Bryce puts her hands on it and it opens. It opens. Well, it opens to reveal Nesta's like worst fear. And she said, this is where I've seen the star before. We call it the prison. And then it jumps to another storyline. So interspersed with that, we're going to talk about Lydia, Hunt, and Rune, because they're all kind of like intermingled. Lydia is on a quest to free Hunt and Rune from the dungeons because she doesn't want Rune to die, and she's sure that if Hunt dies when Bryce comes back, she'll have nothing to fight for. So she's crafting this plan to get them out, and somehow she brought in the Queen of the Fire Sprites, which we love a fire sprite. From the first book, we love a fire sprite. Ooh, I'm gonna cry. Oof. And so she gets a fire sprite on her side to like try to help them out. I still don't know the depths of that yet, but Hunt, Rune are like, we're getting out of this. They don't know that the Hind is also trying to help them. I think she's called the Hind. Her name's Lydia. So Lydia goes to Ethan and Therian in the Viper Court because Ethan, wow, these are all really connected. Bryce is kind of the only one that's standing on its own. But Ethan is trying to free Therian from the Viper Queen. In doing so, he gets caught out with the new Alpha, and the old Alpha, Sabine, tries to kill him, and he nearly kills her. She gets shot in the face. Well, the Viper Queen picks them up, takes them in, and she's like, no, no, no. Ethan thinks it's a good idea to go to the Viper Queen and be like, hey, how do we get out of this? And she tells him, I just want one fight. She's like, I want you to fight one person for my own entertainment. And if you win, I will let all of you and Therian go. She'll break her bond with Therian and let him be free. Granted, he doesn't really have anywhere to go. He defected from the River Queen and she's out to kill him. But unbeknownst to the Viper Queen, Lydia came and asked for their help and said, you have to get out and meet me in 2 days and we're going to free Hunt and Rune. Now, Rune doesn't want to talk to Lydia. He hates her because of who she is. But he connected their minds via their weird mind reading sleep thing. Like when he sleeps, he can communicate with her, and went to her for help and was like, hey, get your people. We need to get out of here. That's where I am. There's a lot going on. I think what I'm going to try to do is update you guys every like 100 pages and give you like a rundown of what's happening. This book, so good. I'm having a great time, you guys. on chapter 21, page 214. I'm gonna go lay down in my bed and continue reading. I knew bad things were about to happen. I'm crying because there's a giant lore drop about how the Fae got to Midgard and the brutality of it. And then Baxian chewed off Rune's hand to try to escape. And then Ethan, I think, killed Sigrid. I think this is going to be my last update for tonight so that I might cry in peace. Sarah, my feelings are hurt. Okay. Jeez, dude. I love these characters so much. Oh, I'm unwell. I need to go lay down. Hello. Quick little update, you guys. A lot's been going on. I don't think I've read anything in like 3 weeks, which is unfortunate. Zeusser here got fixed. And so he's in a satellite dish, and I've been a little overprotective and a little nervous because I'm a nervous mom and he's a nervous boy. And so I've been sleeping on the couch because he don't fit in his crate so well with his cone on. And I don't want to leave him by himself so he doesn't kind of like freak out and try to take the cone off, which we're having great success. He doesn't really try to take it off, which is chef's kiss. But all that being said, I'm very behind in what I would like to have read. I have today. I just made my coffee. I'm going to get comfortable. There's your update about life. Let's get back to the book. Okay, guys, this book is 835 pages, and I have finally made it to... You good? I finally made it to page 405, so I'm roughly halfway through the book, and let me just say, the twists are twisting and the turns are turning. I don't remember the last update that was given, so here's a recap of what I've kind of read today. Bryce fought the Astari in the prison mountain in Perinthian, and then used Azrael's power to power herself up to open a gateway back to Midgard, stealing Truth Teller. And where does she land but her dad's study? Kill the king. He keeps her captive, all while Lydia, or the Hind, is actively breaking Rune, Hunt, and Baxian out of the Astari prison dungeon. They make it onto the depth charger, where we find out that Lydia has twin boys that are 15 years old. What? I wasn't expecting Lydia to be a mom, but kind of makes sense. And then as the chapter ends, after Ethan gets a job for Jezebel, he's confronted by the necromancer demanding the wolf back. Little does he know she's dead. And Hypaxia, the Hind's sister, arrives, and she is a necromancer. There's so much happening right up here in my brain that I need a break. Mark my progress on FABLE. We'll pick up in a couple of hours and go back to the book. I'm hopeful that I can finish it today. Okay, guys, I've officially hit page 500 in House of Flame and Shadow, which kind of makes sense, knowing what I know now. Bryce and the crew are in Avalon. Half of them went to the archives. Half of them went to the Cave of Princes. And where I left off, we haven't seen Flynn or Declan in probably 24 hours in a place that is not their friend. So I'm very worried about the boys. There's so much happening. I re-listened to the first 2 books this last week at work because I was like, I'm in this world. I want to know what's going on. Let's see. I forgot. The first 2 Crescent City books were the very first reading vlogs that I did on this channel. And I forgot how much happens in those first 2 books. It's insane. But as I was re-listening to them, it was triggering memories from this book that I'm currently reading, the 3rd one. And I'm like, oh, that's why that's happening. That's why that person is there. That's like, I forgot all about Sophie. I can't remember her last name, the Thunderbird. I forgot about her and her body being in Avalon because she was Cormac's like love. I forgot those things. But the band is back together. They are running from literally everybody. And I just wanted to update you because I hit the 500 page mark. I'm so excited. I've been craving and I've been missing high fantasy, big worlds, epic, like conflict in my life. I've been missing that a little bit. So I'm so glad that I'm finally like jumping back into this world before the next books come out. So very excited. I have a little over 300 pages left in this book. I've said it once, I'll say it again. I love Sarah J. Maas's brain. Wait. I don't know what to do. No. I'm unwell. I'm on chapter 67, page 596. Okay. So much just happened. What did I learn in the last several chapters? Bryce now has all 3 pieces of this star power. Hunt is actually a prince of hell that was created to be her like power up. They killed the Autumn King and Morven, the King of Avalon, released the power and brought back joy and freedom to the land of Avalon. And Rune formally renounced his title, making Bryce Quinlan Queen of Avalon and the Midgard Fae. I have a little over 200 pages left. This book has been such a wild ride up until this point. I can say that it took me a really long time to get invested, just like it did with the second book. I can say that this story is much richer than I anticipated, and I think I have come to decide that this is her most well-written. I think the story's got so much to offer. I think that she's done an incredible job of creating so much lore and depth. Because yes, they interconnect with the other 2 stories, ACOTAR and Throne of Glass. And I stand by Throne of Glass is probably my favorite series by her. But I think the first Crescent City book is my favorite out of all of her books. And that's saying a lot. This is a series that I will probably reread and reread and reread. Okay, guys, I have made it to page 700 out of 830 something pages. Therian went back to the River Queen to try to get her to take people in from when they attacked Asphodel Meadows. So he went back to the River Queen and was like, hey, please save people. You're finding out a lot of these people who actually secretly hate the Astari, but were just too chicken to do anything about it, which is pretty standard, I guess. They opened the Northern Rift not only to hell and marched out an army from the chasm, but also went and talked to my girl Nesta. Nesta and Bryce would be such a powerful duo. All of our heroes split up. Bryce trades Nesta for a powerful object in her world for the thing that she loves most in Bryce's world. I don't want to say it just because it was heart-wrenching, and if you do decide to read this, I want you to experience that moment where you're just like, ugh! It was kind of gutting. But I was also texting my friend Ashley, who's already read this book, and I told her Bryce's mom and her fierceness reminds me so much of my mom. It makes me sad anytime something happens. I literally can't think. Oh, and Pollux has got Lydia's sons. They stopped at the death charger and he's kidnapped Lydia's sons. So we got to go get them too. Oh my God. I don't know what else I need to say, but we're just gonna set you in that corner and let you roll while I cry. Okay. Oh, and I forgot to say that Ethan went to the underworld and killed the Underking. That literally just happened. My brain. What do you mean? Too bad you killed him. Hold on, chill. You know who I love? Jessica. That's so sad. I'm breathing too hard. No, don't do that. I expected to cry more. There's not a lot of crying, but there's a lot of stuff going on. Fire sprites. No! Bro. I'm so confused. Guys, I finished it. I finished Crescent City, House of Flame and Shadow. Let's cover a couple of things, and then I'll get into my final thoughts. 1, I did lose a good chunk of the footage from when I finished the book. It somehow didn't get offloaded and it got deleted. I don't know. Here we are. Can't do anything about it. 2, yes, it has been a couple of days. I had to kind of marinate in it. I kind of had to sit with it as I finished this book because so many things happened that I was not prepared for. Let's talk about Crescent City. First thing I'm going to say about the book is I'm not going to tell you how it ended, just because there are some things that you should experience on your own. And if you have gotten nothing out of this particular video or the 2 before it, specifically on Crescent City, I love these worlds so much. The magic system is very well thought out. The villains are super fleshed out, and I think this is her most well-written series, Crescent City. So if you like fantasy, I would definitely suggest giving Sarah J. Maas a try. I firmly believe that you should read ACOTAR, then Throne of Glass, and then Crescent City. A lot of people are in that same boat. Sometimes people will switch up Throne of Glass and ACOTAR, but you do kind of have to read ACOTAR before you read Crescent City, just because in this book specifically, those 2 worlds collide, and if you haven't, it will, 1, give spoilers for ACOTAR, and 2, you'll kind of be confused on Like, who's Nesta? Who's Azriel? Like, why are these people important and why is this storyline important? I have mixed feelings about whether or not I'm hopeful for another Crescent City, just because it feels like it was tied up with a bow and everything's kind of finalized in this book. I know we're getting more of Akatar, and I really kind of hope we get a little bit of more information about some of the things that happened in the third book of Crescent City, but this story feels so finalized. It really does feel complete. Like, they took care of the big bad. They walked away better for it. I think we can leave Bryce and the crew to have a happily ever after. Now, if another book comes out, I will be first one in line. Don't get me wrong. Another thing about these books is I feel like these characters are so well-rounded and so fleshed out. And I absolutely adore Bryce. She's so feisty. She's so headstrong, and she fights and fights and fights for what she believes in. There are multiple moments in all three books where the humans are being attacked, and she literally runs into the fray to protect those who are weaker than she is. And I think there's so much to be taken from these stories, and whether they're meant to or not, they give so much like power and entice people to fight for what they believe in and look out for one another. And especially in this story, how community is so important. Bryce couldn't have done anything without her friends. On a little bit of a tangent, I suppose, is part of the reason that I have such a problem with people who talk about these books and they're like, oh, it's just smut. You're just reading about like spicy scenes. You're just there for the like frills and the giggles and the spicy, steamy, whatever. Like, yes, there are books out there that's what that is, but these are so rich and so deep in the story and so whimsical, and they are high fantasy books. Like, yes, sex happens in these books. Like, I'm not going to deny that, but it is not the sole purpose of these books. It is not the thing that they are built on. Every time I see one of those little TikToks and it's that song from Hadestown and it talks about like Bryce running into Asphodel Meadows or Lead running after Lorcan in Kingdom of Ash, like people fighting for one another and for people they love and for people they care about. I'm crying. I think Sarah is a phenomenal writer. Not only because the books are so good, but because they make people like me feel such like visceral emotions and be so connected to characters and so connected to storylines. And at the end of the day, these books make me want to be something bigger and make me want to believe in community and people and what we can do as a society. And I just think that to look at them as just another like fairy spicy novel is downgrading their reality and their potential and what they do for people. And there are so many people who started reading again because of like these books. And there's such a wide, beautiful world when it comes to novels that I feel like weirdly honored to get to experience like these things through a lens that I would never like experience. I'm never gonna have fairy powers. Like, you know what I mean? Ugh, sorry that I got like sappy and sentimental. Wow, that like hurt my feelings for some reason. All of that said, this was definitely a 5-star read. I will 100% reread these books sometime in the future. They were incredible, and I eat up every single second. Thank you guys so much for coming on this journey. I definitely expected it to only take me a week, and it in fact took me, I think, 6 months. If you want to see me read more deep, rich fantasy, go ahead and like this video. If you have a suggestion of a book that you want me to read or a series you want me to tackle, go ahead and leave a comment. And if you haven't already, you should definitely subscribe. And while you're there, hit the little bell icon. I post a video every Monday. I love you guys. Thank you for loving this with me. I will see you in the acknowledgements. Bye.